Hi. I tried playing Baldur's Gate 3 while completely ignoring dialogue. Rule 1. I never start a conversation myself. Rule 2. If a dialogue triggers without my input, I must pick the options that ends it, like leave or stay silent. Rule 3. If a forced dialogue has no leave or stay silent option, I must choose the most neutral reply. As it turns out, this way almost unplayable. Attempt 1. Half-elf ranger named Silent Bob, with magnificent greenish mustache and sideburns. I made Gloomstalker because it's objectively the strongest class in the game. It can kite, deal a ton of damage, and run away from fights. We ran the Nautiloid. The only thing, we can't save Shadowheart, because that requires talking to her. And without Shadowheart, we cannot blow up the Illithid for the extra experience. After the goblins fight outside the grove, I went inside to see what we could do. Turns out, not too much. We can't take quests, we can't even get past the druids to reach Kaga normally, and we have nowhere to buy basic supplies because we can't trade. So I tried stealing various goodies from Aaron, and he attacked me pretty quickly for it. I fought him for a bit, but then I realized I could just run away. He was only temporarily hostile, so I ran. Then for some reason I decided to visit Mole. My hand just kind of led me to her. She got angry pretty fast and started counting down from 10. I didn't leave in time and she ran off to snitch on me to the other tieflings. Meanwhile, I tried to reach Kaga. The druids blocked my path. The only way through them was via dialogue, but since the options to leave was there, I was forced to leave and find another way around. I found a jump path and ran off to do our favorite activity, stealing from Volo. It didn't work because too many people were watching from too many angles and all my attempts to hide failed. I gave up on that and went to Kaga, not knowing what to expect. I walked in and stood there doing nothing, which obviously led to Arabella's death. The only thing I could do there was steal her chest to get the swamp quest. I dropped in on Nettie just to see what would happen. Turns out we can't interact at all, and I left the cave. I tried my luck stealing from Volo again, and I actually managed to steal his ring. Incredibly generous of him not to attack us when we tried to rob him. I gave up on further Volo sift and headed for the grove exit. Then a surprise was waiting for me. That little bastard Mole told the tieflings something, I don't even know what, and my only silent option were surrender or attack. Since I'm not a pussy, I choose to attack the tieflings. To my great surprise, both Shadowheart and Will decided to fight against me. My one and only tactic was to run, use Arrow of Darkness to hide inside of them and flee. I made it to the door behind the prison, entered it, and dropped the combat. I long rested, came back and tried to pickpocket Aaron again. A bit more. Nothing worked. Next, I tried stealing from Ethel, but things got even worse. I even tried building a great wall so no one could see me pickpocketing her. But this obviously doesn't work. I tempted Aaron one more time, then finally decided to head out. I killed the goblins in the cave. I killed Andrik and Bryn because I cannot interact with them. I entered the goblin camp and got a little bit of dishonest experience because we didn't start that conversation. They did, and even the most neutral option let us walk through. I went down into the apothecary's basement but realized you can't get past the mirror without talking to it. I decided to get some experience from goblins at Windmill, thinking that any dialogue option I could choose would make them run away. I completely forgot that the last options, the only non-talking one, is to attack. So by the challenge rules, I had to press attack. In this insane fight, having barely hit level 3, I made the only correct decision.
Run.
I escaped the goblins, returned to the village, passed the other goblin checkpoint. They let you through without dialogue, blew up the goblins next to the barrels, and entered the goblin camp. On the way, I met Shadowheart. She tried to convince me we should travel together, but I couldn't tell her I want her to come with me. Instead, I was forced to kill her. I tried to rob the goblin trader. On the very first attempt, I was caught and I had to attack. I ran away from those goblins and came back. After that failure, I tried to kidnap the trader. I grabbed him, but I didn't manage to click the teleport in time. Had to fight those goblins again. Ran away again, came back again, and tried to kidnap him again. This time I grabbed him and dragged him all the way to the blighted village, but he teleported back. I came back yet again. I gave up on him entirely and just decided to go inside for more experience. But entering the inner gate, I realized I couldn't walk past the goblins. There will be a dialogue, and most likely I would have to attack them again. So I try and go in a different way, from above. While I was trying to break a wall, the sleeping drunkards woke up and killed me. Attempt 2. Barbarian named Silent Rock. Barbarian is good because he doesn't really need much. All his key items come from thief or just from the war. Also, I build a barbarian who doesn't rely on strange elixirs. Plus, barbarian is the best class for using gravity. He doesn't need arrows, he can rest rarely, and so on. I attack the tieflings. Lazel fell to the ground, and we both demolished the tieflings together without ever exchanging a word. But Lazel died in that fight. It happens. After a rather bloody battle with the goblins, I headed into the grove again. Now I had a plan. Kidnap traders, teleport them far away, and pickpocket them there. But Aaron attacked me almost immediately, which nearly got me killed. I turned out to be stronger. I even got the throne ring of him for my future build. Tried to kidnap Etel just to get elixirs out of her, but I realized that even in her human form she still weighs 125 kilograms. Also, that granny cook kept getting in the way of pickpocketing her. So first I kidnapped the cook and tried to steal a roast turkey of her. That enraged her so much, so she started running around uncontrollably. Then she teleported back. But she didn't return into the village, and I decided to try stealing something from Etel using an arrow of darkness. However, the darkness hit Etel and scared her off. She ran away to her home in the swamp. I never saw her again. After another attempt to sneak to Kaga, I realized I no longer had a ritual jump spell and had to come up with something new. The only path I found was jumping along a stone arc and dropping down, losing 5 HP. I went to Kaga, stayed silent, watched Arabella dies, stole Kaga's chest, and went to Nettie, tried to steal a small healing potion from her. She went aggro, and summoned a fire meatball. I fought very bravely, chopped her with my axe like a real man, and even broke her concentration, making the sphere disappear. But Nettie was already on a mission and started turning into a pig. On her next turn, she hit me for 16 fire damage, which sent me to the grave. Attempt 3. I tried to think about who can get the most power early on in the game for free. My thought led me to a Githyanki's fighter who can steal the legendary silver sword from the Githyanki on basically level 3. Plus get 2 good items from the Adamantine Forge, helmet, the breastplate, the gloves from Droraxley, boots from Nier, and ring from Dareth, and maybe something else. So I had a plan in my head and I built the simplest yet incredibly strong 12 out of 12 fighter. The only extra thing this build needed was the risky ring, which I planned to steal in Act 2. But even without it, it is strong. After the goblin fight, I kidnapped Aaron to rob him away from Prying Eyes. On the very first attempt, he attacked me and he got himself killed. After that, I tried to kidnap Damon. I dragged him to the spot and tried to empty his pockets. But on the very first attempt, he ran away like a rocket. Just out of curiosity, I dropped in on Kaga, watching Arabella die yet again. I tried to kidnap Vola and got an interesting bug. As you can see on the map, Vola is standing right next to me, but his actual model is nowhere to be found. And he triggered the dialogue where I had to choose the most neutral option. What I'm doing is none of your business, and then leave. After that, he vanished. I kidnapped the cook and killed her. I decided to try my luck stealing from Etel again. After the first attempt, she fled to her swamp home. I cleaned out Damon's shop and saw a tiefling running after me.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
I used the teleport and, oh wonder, there is Damon. I immediately tried to steal a hammer from him, but failed again. Angered, I chopped Damon down, looting absolutely useless items off him. Tired of all these motions in the Emerald Grove, I decided to move forward to get more experience and some actual items. I attacked Bryn and Andric, but this time they just evaporated. I went into the Old Bear Cave for some experience and bit of looting. I killed Scratch, because I can't take him with me, and leaving him felt kind of sad. I entered the Goblin Village, Apothecary's house, I took the helmet, entered the blacksmith. Told by bitter experience, I didn't go near the windmill. I blew up the goblins next to barrels. In the Goblin camp, I kidnapped their trader and teleported with him to the Emerald Grove. I managed to steal a +1 two-handed sword, a big health potion, a small health potion. But when I closed the Zeft window, I saw that he had vanished, which surprised me quite a bit, because I was stealing when he was no longer nearby. I decided to try again, but this time he disappeared too fast. Okay, my third attempt. I started stealing again, but he attacked me instantly, and I had to kill him with this sword I just got from him. I got the returning pike and hide armor +2. Nah, I decided to move on. Once again, taught by bitter experience, I killed all the sleeping drunkards first. It was incredibly satisfying. I went inside the Goblin cave, headed to the Underdark entrance, collected all the barrels, killed the Mana Tower, and got 75 extra experience. While setting up barrels in the right spot, accidentally aggroed the Spectator. I got very lucky. I rolled higher initiatives than him, and on his very first turn, he flew straight toward my barrels. The barrels I placed weren't quite enough, and he survived with 10 HP. After that, I realized I am dead, because he would obviously one-shot me. I put all my luck into this shot, which on average deal 10 to 11 damage with a 50% chance to hit. I missed. I understood I was doomed, because now he will 100% kill me. Well, this was a glorious run, I thought, because I was absolutely certain I would die on his next turn. And I pressed end of turn. I was already thinking about who I would create next, since there was not a single chance he wouldn't kill me now. Or was there? He flew past me, shooting beams that dealt 25 damage to me, and another beam that applied right hand that didn't kill me. I had one single shot, 30% chance. And I had a barrel in my inventory. I placed it as close as possible to Spectator, having absolutely no idea whether my fire arrow will hit the barrel or not. It was more an act of desperation than a calculated plan, but still, I had some chance to kill him that turn. I shot, and it exploded. After that, I finished off the remainder row and headed to the Myconid village, having no clue what I actually needed there. I threw an antidote to Tula, which forced her into a dialogue. I picked the most neutral option and still got the boost from her. Pretty cool. I kidnapped Darid to try to steal something from her. As always, after the first pickpocket attempt, she attacked me and was killed. I took the ring and other useless items. I decided to head to Dwegar's to see if I could reach Greenforge. But as soon as Gek started the dialogue, I understood everything. Specifically, I understood that it was impossible to get past them without a fight. In the very first turn, Gek raised a bunch of undead. He always does. I ran away and flee. When I returned, I decided to try a trick. Shoot a teleport arrow to land closer to the boat, but that triggered combat and I couldn't use the boat. So I urgently used the Gideon's jump to escape from the fight. But after running away, I saw that big jump buff was still active. So I jumped right back onto the boat, and such a way that combat didn't start, and I could use it. As you probably guessed, that led to the dialogue scene with the Dwegar patrol. My silent options were try to shove him into the water or attack. The shove attempt failed and they started combat. On the very first round, without giving me a single chance, I was deleted from the game. If you like the video, please leave a like, follow, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, watch my other videos. Yes,